Yo, I wanted to ask you, Keith, just because, you know, you're mixed, I'm mixed. Just growing up, did you find it hard to fit in either race? I know, like, when I was coming up, sometimes, you know, I'd have white people look at me and I'd be too dark. Or I'd have black people look at me and I wouldn't be black enough, you know? A lot of times when people hear me on the phone, they automatically assume I'm a white guy because of my voice. Did you find it difficult just coming up as a kid, dealing with that?
I did, man, and it wasn't like, it's not crazy, you know what I mean? But it makes you feel a little out of place as a young man growing up. You don't really understand what you're going through and why you have these feelings. You don't, and the real thing is, my advice towards any young mixed person is understand who you are. Understand that you are a mixed breed. That you're a mutt, and it's okay to be a mutt. All life is beautiful and precious, and there's no difference with yours. And every man will have his place in society. So, but the real struggle with being white and black is the animosity between whites and blacks. Okay?
Right.
This is the dilemma. Okay? Now, it goes back to slavery.
Of course.
You must understand slavery. And the suppression that has always been upon, to this day, upon the black man. Okay? What is going on in places like Chicago should not be happening in America. One of the most powerful nations in the world. You know, we as a people, and we try to stand up, but we're so accustomed to sitting down, doing the 9 to 5, and just trying to provide for our own families. So it is hard to do a quote from the Bible, which is love thy neighbor. You know, and we, the people of all cultures in America, because as Americans, you should respect that your neighbor might not be like you.
True.
You should understand that when you're looking at that red, white, and blue flag. You know, so, so the dilemma has to do with the history of the dilemma pre-back going into slavery, and the black man, aka the Negro, they always wanted him to be uneducated. If there's anything any black man can do for himself, or for his or a mixed kid, is do not frown upon education. They want you to frown upon education because they never wanted you to be educated. And I believe one of the most powerful things in the world is an educated black man. Even when you look into the history of Africa itself, Africa got manipulated. Some would be like, from the white man, but you know what I mean? Which partially a true statement, but what really happened is from an outside source coming into a nation, they let an outside source influence how they do business, and because the outside source obviously wants to take care of itself, it's going to take advantage of the nation that it's doing business with. And Africa and things have happened like that, and it's hard when you go into black communities that the stores are not owned by black people. You know, examples have been made with the Asian population and how there's Chinatowns throughout America, you know, and how the Chinese are very, you know, prideful about their history. There's some who are here who still, to this day, barely speak any English. Okay? I was worked on by an acupuncturist. I had to use every effort to try to understand any advice he was giving me, and he seldomly spoke because he didn't have much to say to me, but he had a little bit to say to me, and that's all that he said. You know, but for me, it seemed like the more you're in the books, the less black you are. The more you're in the streets, sagging your pants, doing what the rappers do and hip-hop industry or gangsters do, now you're black again. And that's all media. It's all media. But it's hard to understand the power that the media holds over the psychology of a society. Because there's certain people who go to their 9 to 5, and all that they do is sit at home and turn on the news. So the news is their reality. They're not in reality. They're being fed information, and they're believing that the information that they're being fed is all that there is to know about what's going on outside of those walls that they live within. You know? But, you know, I mean, for myself, it was hard, you know. The neighborhood I grew up in was predominantly African. You know, you had Latins and you had some whites. So it was, you saw diversity, but you knew you were in a black neighborhood. You also know your black neighborhood when they make your street Martin Luther King. Okay?
True story.
You know?
True story.
So, I lived on the south side, and the north side was even more predominantly black. Like in the upper 90-something%. You know what I mean? So for me, I felt like it was a diverse enough neighborhood. You know, but I did understand the neighborhood I was in, and I was a kid outdoors. You know, so it's hard when you're outside and there are a few thugs or gangsters, and obviously you can't be walking around being soft.
Right.
You know, you soft, you get taken advantage of, right?
Yeah.
And then you start learning that, well, young white boys don't really come out in this neighborhood very often because their bike might get stolen. This might happen, that might happen. And, well, I don't want to be soft, and apparently the white boy is soft. I'm part white, but maybe I don't want to really be white. Maybe I do need to be black. But then if I'm black, but every single time I go home, I'm going home to a white mama. And how does my fellow black man look upon me? My hair is not curly, my hair is straight. I look more Latin than African. And people used to try to speak Spanish to me in the state of Florida all the time.
I mean, I got that too when I actually had hair still.
Yeah, you know, so it is a little challenging, you know. But at the end of the day, man, you are a free man just as any other man. You're going through the same educational system as the white boy sitting in front of you, behind you, wherever, you know. You got the Latin girl and the black girl and all these other people, and everyone's in the same public school.
Yeah.
You know, you're in the same situation, you know. So acknowledge that you are always and forever will be equal. Financially, you can't help the choices that your parents have made in their life. You can help the choices that you make in your life, you know. And you can get educated on your heritage, whatever your heritage is. You should know it, you know, because without that culture, your parents wouldn't have been developed, and they wouldn't have had the opportunity to develop you.
Yeah.
You know? And so just pay homage and respect to the history of that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Do you think that helped you coming up, though, being from two different races, just being able to, you know, I don't want to say fit in, but being able to understand the two different races and not having a preconceived notion? I know that's kind of how I felt about it.
At the end of the day, do we pass the paper bag test? Yeah, we passed the paper bag test. Okay? You and me.
Yeah.
You know, we passed the paper bag test.
I was laughing because I don't know how many people are going to know what the paper bag test is when they see the video.
Real ones should know. So I noticed that too. There was a time where I was right next to my mother's house, and I wanted to cross the street, me and a friend of mine, and as I'm crossing the street, I hear the car doors lock. We're like, wow. You know what I'm saying?
Did you understand what that was about, though,
I
at
knew
that
what
time?
that was about. I knew what it was about. You look inside, it's a white. It's okay. She's about to cross Martin Luther King Street. Okay? Now, I always say my hood was a hood where it's all good. Did things happen? Things happen.
Sure.
You know what I mean? But it wasn't the worst. You know what I mean? It wasn't the real slums. I wasn't, you know, I wasn't in the mix of the jungle. It wasn't as bad as New York, you know, Chicago, and all these other places, you know. And I always say that too, that whatever you're going through, someone's going through worse, man. There's worse things to be going through. If you have all your limbs, all your fingers and toes, if you can see, if you can breathe, if you can hear, you are blessed. There's minute things that some people are not blessed with in life. And if you happen to be one of those people, you would understand a different form of a struggle that has nothing to do with poverty or the color of your skin. You know? So as long as you're fully functional, you can use your brain. And it's hard to understand that education is going to help you, but it is, because it seems like those who are highly educated get into less controversial situations,
right?
You know, only because they understand their options better.